Friends, we welcome you to this part of learning for export and import. Here we shall talk about letter of credit, which is called documentary credit for import. We welcome you to this project of learning export and import trade. Enjoy learning. Thanks. What is a letter of credit? A written commitment to pay by a buyer or importer's bank, called the issuing bank, to the seller or exporter's bank, called the accepting bank, negotiating bank, or paying bank. Link for UCP 600 text is as follows. A letter of credit guarantees payment of a specified sum in a specified currency provided the seller meets precisely defined conditions and submits the prescribed documents within a fixed time frame. These documents almost always include a clean bill of lading or airway bill, commercial invoice, and certificate of origin. To establish a letter of credit in favor of the seller or exporter, which is called the beneficiary, the buyer, which is called the applicant or account party, either pays the specified sum plus service charges upfront to the issuing bank or negotiated credit. Letters of credit are formal trade instruments and are used usually when the seller is unwilling to extend credit to the buyer. In effect, a letter of credit substitutes the creditworthiness of a bank for the creditworthiness of the buyer. Thus, the International Banking System (LC) acts as an intermediary between exporters and importers. However, the banking system does not take on any responsibility for the quality of goods, genuineness of the documents, or any other provision in the contract of sale. Since the unambiguity of the terminology used in writing a letter of credit is of vital importance, the International Chamber of Commerce (ICC) has suggested specific terms called Incoterms that are now almost universally accepted and used. Unlike a bill of exchange, a letter of credit is a non-negotiable instrument but may be transferable with the consent of the applicant. Letter of credit is an assurance given by the buyer's bank to remit the amount to the seller through the seller's bank on maturity as per the terms and conditions of the document based on the contractual agreement between buyer and seller. Now, in simple words, if LC opened in your name, you will receive the amount through the buyer's bank on the agreed time. All letter of credits for export or import trade is handled under the guidance of Uniform Customs and Practice of Documentary Credit of International Chamber of Commerce, UCP 600, edition 2010. There are various types of letter of credits like revocable, irrevocable, confirmed, unconfirmed, clean and documentary, fixed, revolving, transferable, back to back, etc. Most common and safe LC is irrevocable letter of credit. Now we discuss the advantages of letter of credit to the importers? This is a genuine question. What are the merits of a letter of credit to an importer? How does LC help an importer? Is letter of credit a safe mode for an importer? While accepting a LC, the supplier guarantees to meet the terms and conditions of the letter of credit with documentary proof. This is one of the major advantages of the LC to an importer or buyer. This assurance provides security to the buyer for future business plan. Since buyer is the holder of letter of credit, bank acts on behalf of the buyer. Opening bank remits the amount only after satisfaction of all the terms and conditions of letter of credit with documentary proof. This arrangement protects importer and minimizes the time as bank acts on behalf of him. A letter of credit transaction reduces the risk of non-performance by the supplier as the supplier prefers LC than other transactions like advance etc. due to various reasons which protect him than the buyer. This is an advantage for the buyer on fulfillment of meeting commitments on shipments. Another advantage of letter of credit to a buyer or importer is that of exporter seller receives the payment of exported goods only after shipment and meeting of all necessary requirements under LC terms and conditions with presentation of documentary proof including evidence of shipment. Unlike other shipments, a shipment under letter of credit is treated with most care to meet delivery schedule and other required parameters by the exporter. The documents are received by the buyer promptly and quickly with complete sets. Unless meeting delivery schedule and prompt documentation, the supplier does not get his payment from the opening bank. This is one of the major advantages of LC for an importer. An importer buyer can plan his payment schedule properly by anticipating the requirements under letter of credit. This arrangement makes importer for easier planning. Based on timely delivery schedule, buyer receives the goods on time, thereby he can execute his business plan smoothly and efficiently, in turn satisfying his client promptly and effectively. Here is the line diagram how the LC works. The buyer, he applies for a letter of credit to his buyer's bank after a contract is made between seller and buyer. The buyer's bank issues a letter of credit to the seller's bank. The seller's bank advises the letter of credit to the seller. Now, the seller supplies the goods to the buyer. As he receives the documents, he gives the documents to his bank and the bank sends to buyer's bank. These documents, when checked by the buyer's bank, these are informed to the buyer. The buyer's account is debited and the documents are given to the buyer. The payment is remitted to the seller. After the buyer receives the documents, he can take the delivery after custom clearance. Thanks.